Our stories are not real and made for entertainment purpose only. Subscribe to my channel for more stories. Now let's begin this one. I poured my heart into a groundbreaking app, trusting my colleague to share the credit until he claimed it as his own at our company retreat, threatening my career, only for me to unveil emails that exposed his deceit and reclaimed my triumph in front of everyone. My colleague took my project at the company retreat, then I showed emails that sunk him. At 31, I, Oliver Harris, had woven my life into the fabric of Ashburn, a charming market town in Derbyshire, England, where cobbled streets and historic pubs blended with the burgeoning tech scene. As a senior developer at Innovatech, a mid-sized firm crafting apps for local businesses, I thrived on code, my laptop a canvas for ideas that bridged Ashburn's quaint charm with modern innovation. My wife, Charlotte Harris, a compassionate primary school teacher with a love for gardening, was my rock, her warm smile grounding me through deadlines and debug sessions. Our daughter, Sophie, age 7, was our light, her curious questions, "Why do apps make pictures move, Daddy?" sparking my creativity, her doodles of smartphones decorating our Victorian terraced home. Coding wasn't just my job, it was my redemption. Growing up in Birmingham, I'd been a promising programmer, winning regional hackathons, until a family crisis, my father's illness, derailed my university plans at 18. Innovatech gave me a second chance, and I'd rise and fast, my apps boosting local tourism and retail. My latest project, Ashconnect, was my masterpiece, a platform linking Ashburn's shops, cafes, and artisans with customers via real-time deals and virtual tour. I'd spent years building it, coding late into the night, tailoring features to Sophie's love of interactive maps, dreaming of a promotion to lead developer. My colleague, Simon Baxter, was a shadow over my success. At 38, Simon was a smooth-talking project manager, his tailored suits and Oxbridge accent masking a knack for claiming others' work. He joined Innovatech a year ago, his charm winning over our CEO, Miss Victoria Hammond, but his laziness frustrated developers like me. Simon had mentored me early on, sharing tips on pitching to clients, his pub chats about teamwork disarming. "You're the brains, Oliver," he'd say, clapping my shoulder. "I'll sell your ideas." I trusted him, sharing Ashconnect specs, never suspecting he'd use my openness against me. The annual company retreat, held at a stately manor in the Peak District, was Innovatech's showcase, where teams pitched projects to executives and investors. Ashconnect was our star, set to secure a £50,000 grant for expansion. Simon insisted on leading the pitch. "I know the board," he said, winking. "You focus on the code," I agreed, grateful, unaware he'd steal my dream in front of Ashburn's elite. The retreat was a spectacle, the manor's oak-paneled hall glowing with chandeliers, executives mingling with investors over canapes and Prosecco. Innovatech's teams buzzed, their laptops open, pitches rehearsed. I wore my best blazer, Ashconnect's demo on my tablet, its sleek interface ready to impress. Charlotte was at home, prepping Sophie for a school play, but she'd texted, "Knock 'em dead, love," with a heart emoji. I felt invincible, my app a ticket to stability for Sophie, a legacy for Ashburn. Simon took the stage, his polished voice filling the hall, my slides projected behind him. At first, he stuck to our plan, demoing Ashconnect's map, its deal alerts, my virtual tour feature that let users walk Ashburn's high street. The board nodded, investors scribbling, and I swelled with pride. Then his words shifted, a betrayal in slow motion. "I designed Ashconnect," he said, gesturing to the screen. "My vision built this platform. Oliver's a great coder, but I'm the architect." My heart stopped, the hall's applause drowning my shock. My app. I'd written every line, debugged every crash, shaped it to Sophie's delight in finding her favorite bakery on the map. I stood, my voice hoarse. "That's my work," I shouted, pushing toward the stage. Simon chuckled, patting my arm like I was a child. "Oliver's keen, folks, but I'm the brains here." The board smiled, Ms. Hammond praising Simon's innovation, offering him the grant and a lead developer role. The crowd clapped, but my world crumbled. My promotion, my app, my trust, stolen in a room of suits and champagne. I left the stage in a daze, the manor's opulence mocking my humiliation. In the car park, under the Peak District's starry sky, I called Charlotte, my voice breaking. "He took it, Lottie," I said. She was fierce, her teacher's calm replaced by fire. He doesn't steal your dream, Oliver, she said. We prove it's yours. At home, Sophie climbed into my lap, her school play crown crooked. Did you win, Daddy? She asked, her eyes wide. I hugged her, promising, not yet, love, but rage burned inside. Sleep eluded me, Simon's words, I'm the architect, a taunt. I wasn't a lawyer, but I'd been meticulous. AshConnect's code was mine, stored on my laptop and GitHub, with commit logs dating back to years, each tagged with my initials. I found an email from 6 months ago, where I'd shared a prototype with Simon, his reply admitting, brilliant work, Oliver. I'm just the pitch guy. I dug deeper, checking our team's shared drive, where Simon had access to my specs. A folder labeled SB_pitches held a bombshell and email chain where Simon pitched his AshConnect to a rival firm, TechTrend, seeking a director role, using my wireframes verbatim. Another message, to a client, bragged about my app winning the grant. I called Mrs. Eleanor Patel, a senior tester who'd worked with me on AshConnect. She'd overheard Simon at a team lunch, claiming he'd built the platform while I just coded. Charlotte recorded her statement, her voice sharp. Simon said Oliver was just a worker bee. I contacted Mr. James Worthington, a solicitor who'd helped us with our mortgage. James reviewed my evidence email, GitHub logs, Simon's pitches, Eleanor's testimony and nodded. This is theft of intellectual property, he said. A lawsuit's an option, but exposing him at the retreat's closing will hit harder. Simon craves the spotlight. I agreed. I wanted Simon to face the board he'd lied to, the team that trusted him, the town that backed Innovatech. Over 10 days, Charlotte and I became detectives, our cozy kitchen a war room of evidence, Sophie's bedtime stories swapped for strategy sessions. My prototype email was the cornerstone, Simon's admission a clear rebuttal to his claim. I compiled every GitHub commit, their timestamps predating Simon's pitches, my initials on every file. Charlotte found a deleted Slack message Simon sent to a junior developer, Edward Clark, asking for tips on selling Oliver's app as mine. Edward, uneasy, had screenshotted it, and agreed to record a statement. Simon said he'd take credit. Eleanor's testimony grew stronger. She recalled Simon editing my slides at a meeting, muttering about making them his. Another colleague, Miss Sophie Bennett, had seen Simon download my specs from the drive, boasting about his promotion. Sophie's recorded statement was clear. Simon acted like Oliver didn't exist. James helped us create a presentation, weaving emails, logs, and testimonies into a damning timeline, its slides crisp and undeniable. Sophie, sensing our fight, brought a quiet strength. One evening, she handed me a drawing of a phone with Daddy's app in glitter. For the mean man to see, she said, her eyes fierce. I hugged her, tucking the drawing into my bag for luck. We learned Simon's motives. He was stalled, his project management role stagnant, his lavish lifestyle draining his savings. AshConnect was his ticket to a director's salary, but he'd underestimated me. The retreat's closing ceremony, where the grant would be awarded, was our stage. I emailed Miss Hammond, requesting to clarify our pitch, copying Simon. He texted, laughing, Oliver, don't embarrass yourself. His arrogance fueled me. See you Sunday, I replied, my fingers steady. The grand ballroom of the Crestwood Manor buzzed with anticipation, its opulent crystal chandeliers casting prismatic light across the polished mahogany floors. The air was heavy with the scent of fresh orchids and the low hum of conversation among executives, investors, and Innovatech staff, all gathered for the closing ceremony of the annual Innovation Summit. Rows of chairs were filled with teams from various departments, their project displays glowing on massive screens lining the walls. At the center of it all was AshConnect, my brainchild, its sleek logo dominating the main screen, a beacon of months of sleepless nights and relentless coding. I sat near the front, my heart pounding like a drum in my chest. Charlotte was beside me, her presence a steadying force, with Sophie perched on her lap, clutching a folded piece of paper, her latest drawing, a crayon sketch of a rocket soaring past stars, which she'd slipped into my pocket earlier that morning. For luck, Daddy, she'd whispered, her small hand warm in mine. I patted my jacket pocket now, feeling the crinkle of the paper, a talisman against the nerves knotting my gut. James and Eleanor sat to my right, their faces set with quiet determination, ready to back me up. Across the aisle, Edward caught my eye and gave a subtle nod, his wife Sophie beside him, her encouraging smile a quiet anchor in the storm brewing inside me. The ceremony began with Ms. Abigail Hammond, Innovatex CEO, taking the stage. Her tailored navy suit and silver hair framed a commanding presence, but her voice was warm as she addressed the room. Tonight, we celebrate innovation, dedication, and the future of technology, she said, her words echoing off the vaulted ceilings. Each team here has pushed boundaries, but one project stands out, Ashconnect, a revolutionary platform poised to redefine connectivity in our industry. The crowd applauded, and I felt a swell of pride, quickly tempered by the weight of what was to come. Simon Hartley stepped forward, his suit impeccable, his smile polished to a sheen. He was ready to accept the $2 million grant for Ashconnect, his posture exuding the confidence of a man who believed he'd already won. The room clapped politely, but my pulse roared in my ears. This was at the moment I'd been dreading and preparing for. I stood, raising my hand, my voice cutting through the applause. "Miss Hammond, I have evidence to share." A hush fell over the room, heads turning, eyes narrowing. Simon's smile faltered, just for a moment, as I connected my laptop to the projector. The screen flickered, then glowed with the email I'd unearthed late last night, time-stamped months ago. The subject line read, Ashconnect Prototype Feedback. Simon's words were unmistakable. "Brilliant work, Oliver. This is a game changer." I turned to the crowd, my voice steady despite the adrenaline surging through me. "Simon stole Ashconnect. This project is mine." Gasps rippled through the audience, a mix of shock and curiosity. Simon's face reddened, but I pressed on, clicking to the next slide, a GitHub commit log showing my code contributions dated long before Simon ever mentioned Ashconnect. "These logs prove I developed the core framework," I said, my tone measured but firm. "And this," I clicked again, revealing a screenshot of Simon's pitch deck for TechTrend, where he claimed sole credit for Ashconnect, is where he tried to pass it off as his own. The crowd's murmurs grew louder, a restless undercurrent. I displayed Edward's Slack screenshot next, the damning message Simon had sent months ago. "I'll take credit for Ashconnect. Oliver won't mind." Edward, standing now, nodded grimly from the audience, his voice carrying as he confirmed, "I saw it myself. He deleted it later, but I saved it." Eleanor rose beside me, her voice sharp and clear. "Simon approached me last month, claiming he built Ashconnect from scratch. I knew it was Oliver's work. I saw his late-night commits, his documentation." Simon's composure cracked. "This is nonsense," he shouted, his voice pitching high, betraying his panic. He gestured wildly at the screen. "This is a setup. Oliver's just jealous." But the room wasn't buying it. I clicked to the final piece of evidence, a recovered Slack message, deleted but retrieved through server logs, where Simon had bragged to a colleague about taking Oliver's idea for a spin. Sophie, Edward's wife, stood up, her voice calm but cutting. "I overheard Simon at the last team meeting, boasting about how he'd outmaneuvered Oliver for the grant. It was greed, plain and simple." The ballroom felt electric now, the crowd's attention shifting, some murmuring in disbelief, others glaring at Simon, whose face had drained of color. He opened his mouth, then closed it, his charm crumbling under the weight of the evidence. James stepped forward, holding a folder of notarized documents, my original project proposal, time-stamped and signed. "Oliver's claim is verified," he said, his voice steady as he handed the folder to Miss Hammond. "These are legally binding records of his authorship." Miss Hammond's frown deepened as she scanned the documents, her eyes flicking to Simon, who slumped in his chair, his earlier bravado gone. The room was silent, the weight of the moment pressing down on us all. She stepped back to the podium, her voice slow but resolute. "Innovatech values integrity above all else. Simon, your actions are unacceptable." She turned to me, her expression softening. "Oliver, the grant is yours, as is the lead developer role for Ashconnect's next phase." She extended her hand, and I shook it, her grip firm, her words a validation of everything I'd fought for. "We need people like you, those who build, not those who take." The crowd erupted in applause, some standing, others whispering furiously. Simon stood, his shoulders hunched, and shuffled toward the ballroom's double doors, his head bowed. The man who tried to steal my career left the room in disgrace, his reputation shattered in the very space where he'd hoped to claim victory. Charlotte squeezed my hand, Sophie beaming up at me, her drawing still in my pocket, a reminder that sometimes the smallest things can carry you through the biggest battles. Simon's reputation collapsed in Ashburn's tight-knit tech community, where trust is currency. Innovatech fired him, clients dropped him, and rivals shun him, his Oxbridge charm worthless. Rumors reached us that he'd moved to Manchester, working low-level IT, his dreams of directorship buried under his deceit. I didn't gloat, his fall wasn't my joy. My joy was Ashconnect, launched with the grant, its map guiding tourists to Ashburn's shops, Sophie's favorite bakery a star feature, my promotion securing our future. We rebuilt in Ashburn's embrace. Charlotte and I hosted a community demo at the town hall, showcasing Ashconnect, Sophie passing out stickers, her pride healing the scars of Simon's betrayal. Eleanor organized a tech meetup, naming me its lead, my role mentoring young coders, a nod to my hackathon days. Edward and Sophie joined my team, their trust a foundation for growth. I expanded Ashconnect, adding a feature for local artisans, inspired by Sophie's love of craft fairs. Each take a step toward our legacy. The betrayal left a wound. Simon had been a mentor, his pub chats a bridge to my ambitions. Losing that stung, a reminder to guard what mattered. Charlotte, sensing my quiet moments, pulled me aside one night under Ashburn's starry sky, Sophie asleep inside. "You're a star, Oliver," she said, her hand in mine. "You saved our app." I kissed her, grateful for her warmth, for Sophie's light, for the code that was ours again. A year later, Simon sent an email, brief and raw. "Sorry, Oliver. I was wrong." I read it in my office, Charlotte beside me, Sophie's latest drawing on my desk. I didn't reply. Not yet. The pain was tender, but I saved it, a reminder that colleagues can falter, but truth codes stronger than lies. One evening, as dusk fell over Ashburn, I stood by the market square, Ashconnect live on my phone. Charlotte wrapped her arms around me, Sophie skipping ahead, chasing pigeons. "Your app's magic, Daddy," she said, her voice bright. I smiled, my heart full. The retreat that nearly broke us became our triumph. Proof that my code, our legacy, was built in grit, not theft.